Shabbat shalom, everybody. Listen, there's donuts in the back, there's coffee over here. Come in, sit down, fix your little plate with some munchies on it, get your Bibles out. Today's a big day. So, it is raining outside, and that rain has the potential to turn itself into ice/snow. Which I'm about this worried about because I'm from upstate New York, not Arklatex, So, come at me, winter. All right. So as you're finding your way to your seats, whip out your Bible, flip to the Tanakh portion right here, and we're going to the very end of Genesis. We're picking up in Genesis 50. Last week, we dropped off at Genesis 49, and I almost wish I had it in me to just do 50 as well, but we were going long. So, we are going to finish Genesis today. I'm excited about this because we're going to move into Exodus, and there's a lot of good instruction in Exodus. And when I started doing this, when I had the conviction to do this, I was like, we're just gonna read the Bible, and we are. And I really want to get through the first 5 books, the books of Moses, and we are. So I'm happy about that. I am also extremely encouraged by all of you who are playing along in the home game. I am blessed that I get to talk with you guys and pray with you guys and you girls and fast with you guys. Today is a day of fasting for me and 2 other brothers that are seeking the still small voice. They're seeking his face. And so in solidarity with them, I am fasting as well, that hopefully the Most High would give me a word for them and that they might have a word for me as well. So if you're having trouble hearing the voice, you might consider fasting. If you've never fasted before, I wouldn't go more than 24 hours. If you have, 48, 72 hours. Yeah. Fasting is oftentimes done, as we'll find here in the Bible, oftentimes done to prepare you to receive a word from the Most High. So, anyway, I'm looking forward to this, and I'm glad we're here. I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that I get to do this, that I live in a country where I can still do this, and that if it ever gets to the point that we can't, all right, Genesis, Bereshit 5:0. Let's adjust this camera. How's this? Not great. Yeah, I know. All right, and right there. Hold it right there, T. Roger. Get the ears covered. Genesis 50. Jacob has just died. Remember. Okay. And Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father. Remember, they're in Egypt. So the physicians embalmed Israel. And 40 days were completed for him, for so are completed the days of embalming. So it took 40 days to embalm him. And the Mitzrites wept for him for 70 days. And when the days of weeping for him were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, See, I am dying. Bury me in my burial site, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. And now please let me go up and bury my father and return. Brief note. it almost, I read that last night in preparation for this reading this morning, and it almost made me think last night, where am I going to dig my own grave around here? And I know that sounds morbid, but not really. Like, it's one less thing. But if you think about it, that's one of the things that we as Americans and, Westerners, we farm that out. Buy a little piece of land, pay a few $1,000s for a little piece of land and a piece of rock that's got your name carved into it, and when you die, it's already handled. You just have in your last will and testament, take me to the Shady Oak Cemetery, bury me in lot 429B, and if you want your inheritance, make sure the birds don't poop all over my headstone or whatever, right? So it's the same thing. So me being me, why not take complete and utter personal responsibility for it and dig my own dang hole or make my own coffin or what? I don't know. It's just my brain just went there, like, how interesting that one would be forced to confront their own, right? I had the words right here on the tip of my tongue, right? It's futile. Your own mortality. I bet you he did a lot of praying when he was preparing his own burial site. So, just something to think about. And Joseph went, And Pharaoh said, "Go up and bury your father, as he has made you swear." And Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Mitzrayim. This was a damn funeral procession. There were a lot of people went, okay? Which indicates, A, that Joseph was a powerful man, which we knew, but reminders are good. And B, remember that Jacob blessed Pharaoh. Blessings go from the more powerful to the less powerful, biblically speaking. Not the other way around, right? Tithing goes from the less powerful to the more powerful. So Jacob blessed Pharaoh, and Pharaoh said, all of the land of Mitzrayim is before you. He basically made an offering to Jacob. Whatever you need, brother, it's yours. Go. Have at it. So we now see again as reinforcement of the fact that Jacob wasn't just some random guy. All of the elders of the land of Mitzrayim, and all the house of Joseph and his brothers and his father's house, only their little ones and their flocks and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great company. And they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, the Yarden, says my book, and they lamented there with a great and very heavy lamentation. And he performed 7 days of mourning for his father, Joseph did. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, "This is a grievous mourning for the Mitzrites." And that is why they called the name Abel Mitzrayim, which is beyond the Jordan. And his sons did to him as he had commanded them, for his sons brought him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abram bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial site. Y'all remember that earlier in Genesis? That's the Ephron, the old wink. I don't want 400 pieces of silver. What's 400 pieces of silver between you and me? Same field, same place, same caves. I wonder if anybody has ever found those caves. Yeah. Hot water. Okay. Because that'd be awesome. Right, and we know that Jacob was embalmed. So, he ought to have been preserved, right? Okay. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Mitzrayim, he and his brothers and all who went up with him to bury his father. So they did their thing, they mourned their daddy, and they went back to Egypt again. And when Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "What if Joseph hates us and pays us back all the evil that we did to him? Oh no, Dad's not around to make him be nice to us anymore, and we did some really messed up stuff to him back in the day. What if he takes his revenge?" Okay. And they sent word to Joseph, this is 16, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying," did he? I don't know. This book doesn't tell us that he did. Maybe he told them this on the side. Maybe he didn't. Either way, when Moshe put this part of the story down into the book, I'm pretty sure it does not say anywhere in here that Jacob said to the rest of the sons, "Make sure you tell Joseph to be nice to you after I'm dead." Okay. That's not ringing any bells to me, and we've been reading this together so far. Maybe I missed it, but it's not ringing any bells. Bells. Bills, bells, bells, bills. They're just the words, the best words. All right. Ba-ba-da-ba-da. And they sent word to Joseph, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying, this is what you are to say to Joseph. I beg you, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. And now, please forgive the transgression of the servants of Elohim of your father." And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And his brothers also went and fell down before his face. And they said, "See, we are your servants." And Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of Elohim? Who am I to judge? And you intended evil against me, but Elohim intended it for good, in order to do it as it is this day, to keep a great many people alive." Summation there. Yeah, you thought this was going to be bad, but the Most High turned it into good. He had to, so that I could preserve all of these people here and keep them alive. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel, even if you're going through some bad stuff. It's for a reason. So, and now do not fear. I provide for you and your little ones. So he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. And Joseph dwelt in Mitzrayim, he and his father's household. And Joseph lived 110 years. And Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. The children of Machir, son of Manasseh, were also born on Joseph's knee. And Joseph said to his brothers, "I am dying, but Elohim shall certainly visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." Joseph's dying. Okay. Remember that Jacob was hesitant to go into Mitzrayim to be with Joseph in the first place because he understood, I believe it was Abraham that was told that his people would come into bondage for 400 years in the land of Mitzrayim. And Jacob was aware of this. He didn't want to go. And so the father appeared to him and said, "No, it's good. You need to go." "Okay, I will go." So he went. So now Joseph is letting his brothers know here in 24, "I am dying, but Elohim shall certainly visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." And Joseph made the children of Israel swear, saying, "Elohim shall certainly visit you, and you shall bring up my bones from here." I said, "Okay, he's going to come to you, and you will leave from here with my bones." And Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was placed in a coffin in Mitzrayim. The end of Bereshit. Now, we get into Shemoth, or Hebrew word, also known as Exodus. And the Hebrew Shemot, or Chemot, or is short for, or means, these are the names. Because if you look at the first line in Exodus, and these are the names. That's kind of how the Hebrew works here in the old Bible. For example, Kitetse, the Kitetse Torah portion means when you go out. And in Deuteronomy, the portion that talks about what to do when you go out starts with when you go out, which is why it's called the Kitetse portion, because it's about when you go out. Very logical. So, which I think, and this just is in my brain right now, which I think speaks to the fact that whenever you get somebody, usually a polo-wearing beta male, it says, well, you have to understand, brother, that you have to properly divide the word to understand the Father's intentions for your heart, brother. It's so logical that they name the book after the first 3 words in that part of the book. Like, it is what it is. It says what it says. What do you mean properly divided? If it says do it, you do it. If it says don't do it, you don't do it. Well, you see, brother. Yeah, I see. I see the book right here, and it says do this, so I do. Sorry. Mini rant. Now, there is a thesis out there in the ether that there are actually 4 contributing sources to the first 5 books of the Bible, the Pentateuch. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy? No, Deuteronomy. So, however, we know that Moses, these are the books of Moses. Even the Mormons get this right. The Mormons understand that the first 5 books are the book of Moses, or the books of Moses, or the law of Moses, right? I mean, they even have their own story about, remember Uncle Laban that did Jacob wrong, and before that he did Isaac wrong? Uncle Laban, Laban's sword, and one of their guys, Nephi? I think it was Nephi. Lehi and Lemuel and Nephi and Sam all decided that they were going to go, they needed something from Uncle Laban. I don't remember what it was, and he wouldn't give it to him. So one of them, I think it was Nephi, took Laban's head off with the sword of Laban because Laban got drunk. And so they lopped his head off, and that's a nice, a nice Mormon story. Exactly what you think about when you think of magic underwear. So even they understand that the first 5 books of this Bible, the Bible, I mean, let's talk about Abrahamic religions here. The first 5 books in all Abrahamic religions, Moshe. They come from Moses. Now, was he compiling from other sources? Probably, maybe, but he did the work of putting these 5 books together, undoubtedly aided by the Spirit, guided by the Most High. Okay. So now we're going to get into Shemot, or also called Exodus, and we will get into the story of Moshe, of Moses, who he was, how did he get here, a little bit of backstory. I like Exodus because it gets a little bit more practical in the storytelling. So I'm excited to be here. So, yay! All right, so let's do it. I know, right? Shut up, T. Read the Bible. Got it. And these are the names, Shemot. And these are the names of the children of Israel who came to Mitzrayim with Jacob, each one in his household: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. Remember that? The begats? We did that recently. And all those who were descendants of Jacob were 70 beings, as Joseph was already in Mitzrayim. And Joseph died, and all his brothers, and all that generation. Okay, by the way, 400-ish years has passed. Okay? This many hundreds. Some say it's 400, some say it's 430, and you can look into that. There's a lot of backstory there. the precise timeline matters a little bit less, I think, than the book said. So if you want to go down that road, and if you want to, was it 400, was it 430, doesn't matter, here's why it matters. Cool, you can Google until your face explodes on that stuff. 400-ish years, okay? And for our purposes, we will call it 400 years. Okay. So that's what's happening here, is it is explaining there were all these people. Remember, we were just talking about Joseph? Cool. Contextually, and this again contributes to the understanding that Moshe wrote this book, is there is context throughout the first 5 books in this Bible that they all intermesh, right? They came from one place. Cool. All right. So he's saying, yeah, remember all those Joseph people? They're dead. Okay, because time has passed. And all the children of Israel were fruitful and increased very much, multiplied and became very strong, and the land was filled with them. I will make a great nation out of you. Sound familiar? Okay. And a new sovereign, a new king arose over Mitzrayim of Egypt, who did not know Joseph. He didn't know the stories of Joseph and what Joseph did and how important all of that was. He didn't know Joseph. And he said to his people, see, the people of the children of Israel are more and stronger than we are. There's more of them, and they're I'm afraid. Probably had one of those stupid little beard thingies, with like a snake sticking out of his forehead. Come, let us act wisely toward them, lest they increase, and it shall be when fighting befalls us, that they shall join our enemies and fight against us, and shall go out of the land. That's a serious consideration. Have I not said before that this book has been studied over and over again from a military and strategic standpoint? Right. Okay. So they set slave masters over them to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh supply cities, Pithom, and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. But the more you afflict them, the more they increased and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. There's some obvious parallels I can draw there between the American citizenry and our government right now, but this is not a political show. This is us reading the Bible. But let's read that again. 1:12. But the more they afflicted them, the more they increased and grew, and they were in dread of the children of Israel. And the Mitzrites made the children of Israel serve with harshness, and they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all kinds of work in the field. All their work they made them to do was harshness. Then the sovereign of Mitzrayim, the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, spoke to the Hebrew midwives, of whom the name of one was Shiphrah, or Shiprath, or whatever your Bible says. So we're going to go with Shiphrah. And the name of the other was Puah. And he said, when you deliver the Hebrew women, as you're midwifing for these Hebrew chicks, and see them on the birth stools, if it is a son, kill it, put it to death. But if it is a daughter, then she shall live. So as you're delivering these Hebrew babies, if it's a son, if it's a daughter, let it live. But the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive. So they were in service to the Most High. So the sovereign of Mitzrayim called for the midwives and said to them, why have you done this and kept the male children alive? And the midwives said to Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not like the Mitzraim women, for they are lively and give birth before the midwives come to them. They're pushing out babies before we can even get there, boss. So Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very prosperous. So wait a minute. let's look back here, because they're telling Pharaoh that the reason that there's still boy kids running around is because these Hebrew women are tougher than Egyptian women, and they're just spitting kids out before the midwives can even get there. But is that what's actually happening? No, because in 117 it says, "But the midwives feared Elohim and did not do as the sovereign of Mitzrayim commanded them, and kept the male children alive." They told a lie to Pharaoh. But 20, so Elohim was good to the midwives, and the people increased and became very numerous. So they lied, but Elohim was good to them. Unlearn the lies. Get rid of your Christian Sunday doctrine and dogma. Yeah, you can lie. You can't bear false witness, but if I am preserving life and if I am in service to the Most High, sorry, boss, I don't know what happened. These cats they just spit kids out. I don't know. And the Father blesses them for it. So don't lie? No, it's not don't lie, it's don't bear false witness. Now, don't take that thread and run with it, but understand that when these people are caught in a rock and a hard place and they had the opportunity to either serve their Lord, Yahweh, or serve Pharaoh, they chose the spiritual and the eternal rather than the temporal. Good choice. Okay. Right? And did they have to lie to do that? Yeah, they did. Pharaoh didn't put the midwives to death, and the Father blessed them for it. So, hot water, yum. All right. Where are we? And it came to be because the midwives feared Elohim that he provided households for them. And Pharaoh commanded all his people, saying, "Throw every son who is born into the river, and keep every daughter, and keep alive every daughter." And a man of the house of Levi went and married a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bore a son, and she saw that he was a lovely child, and she hid him 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took an ark of wicker for him and coated it with tar and pitch and put the child in it. She made a little basket, made it waterproof. Yeah, arks, not just Noah. And laid it in the reeds by the edge of the river. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. So his sister, okay, you got this? And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her young women were walking by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the reeds, she sent her female servant to get it. So, Levi dude, Levi chick, get together, #go team, they have a baby. The baby is kept for 3 months. It's hidden by this Levite, till she can't hide it anymore. So she makes a little basket. She makes like basically a little tiny boat, puts the baby in it, and the baby's sister takes it to the edge of the river, puts it in the reeds, and stands there to watch, see what would happen. So now the daughter of Pharaoh comes along. She's about to get her bath time on. She's out there with all of her little chickie friends, and they find a baby in a basket. Okay? Got it. And opened it and saw the child, and see, the baby wept. So she had compassion on him and said, "This is one of the children of the Hebrews." By the way, shalom, Hebrews. Best word that ever got downloaded into my brain. Hebrew. And his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call a nurse for you from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you?" So sister's standing there, and she's like, "Hey, do you need a nurse? You need somebody to suckle that child? Like, are you good? How can I help?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the young woman went and called the child's mother. Aha! And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this child away and nurse him for me, then I shall pay your wages." So the woman took the child and nursed him. So the baby's mom ended up with him again by the hand of Pharaoh's daughter, which of course we see the divine intervention here. Okay. Everybody playing along in the home game, you got this. Convoluted. Baby goes into the water in a little tiny boat. Pharaoh's daughter walks by, sees the baby. What should we do with him? Baby's sister walks out, is like, hey, do you need a hand? And she says, yeah, go get a nurse for this baby. So the sister says, all right, I'll go get a nurse for the baby. Go gets her mom, who's the mother of the baby. So I'll do it. Sweet. So she's got her baby back, okay? And we're not singing the Chili's baby back rib song, so get it out of your head. Swine. We don't do that anymore. Although some beef ribs would be fantastic. I need to tell my wife to order some from the butcher. Or just go to the sale barn and delayed gratification for 18 months. And for what I would pay for beef ribs, I could probably just buy a calf. Maybe that's what we'll do. And I'm going to eat those dang ribs on camera. That's what we're doing. All right. Next. So. Shabba-dabba-dabba-da, I will pay your wages. And the child grew fast. All right, so we're fast forwarding, okay? And the child grew. What? Fast forward. And she brought him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moshe, Moses, saying, because I have drawn him out of the water. Very interesting thing here. The M, that sound, the Hebrew letter, kind of like, it's like a gang sign that makes the M sound, is tied to water. Moshe was drawn out of the water. His sister, Miriam, who rescued him from the reeds, right? When they're in the Exodus, as we're going to see, and they're wandering the wilderness, they had no problem getting water. While Miriam, water, was alive. Okay? After she passes, they have foul water, sulfur water. They can't get water, right? They have water issues. And then Moshe, who is drawn up out of the water, drives Aaron's staff, boom, into a rock when he was supposed to speak to it. Yo, rock, give me water. But instead, boom, the water comes out, the water, Moshe, water. And because of his anger, as we're going to see, Pastor Fox has a thesis that Moshe had anger problems. After he brought that up in a conversation we were having, the more I thought about it, the more I studied it, I think he may be right. So take that, put it over here, chew on it for a while. But Moshe, and his sister Miriam are tied to water. The guy who leads the Father's people, his chosen people, his peculiar people, out of the land of Mitzrayim and into the wilderness is water, okay? He's known for water. Let all who thirst come to me and drink. Are we getting it? Okay. Coincidence? No, there are no such things as coincidences. Hydrate. All right. So she pulls him out of the water. I'll name him Moshe. So she does, because I've drawn him out of the water. And in those days it came to be when Moshe was grown, super fast forward, okay? There's his backstory. And then when he was grown, that he went out to his brothers, his Hebrews, okay? Because that's literally the context here. He went out to his Hebrews and looked at their burdens, that like they're in bondage, right? And he saw a Mitzrian striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers, and he lost it. I get this. Boy, do I get this. I am the bully's bully. I am the antithesis of bullying. I have been in hundreds of fights. I have never started not one of them. But you mess with my friends, or you take advantage of somebody who's smaller, weaker, God forbid, handicapped or something like that, I will throw you through a wall. I will turn your face into a pound of hamburger. Like, I am that guy, and I totally get this. So, But in order to understand this with Moshe, right? These anger issues, part of that is when you're really empathetic towards other people, you have to be careful that you're not so empathetic that their plight becomes your plight. And so that in of itself creates struggle and strife inside of you that you want to do something about this. And sometimes that expresses itself as anger at the situation. I get it. I totally get it. So, Moshe, sees one of his brothers being stricken. He's right. And he saw a Mitzrayim striking a Hebrew, one of his brothers. So he turned this way, and he turned that way. And he saw no one. And he struck the Mitzrayim and hid him in the sand. Go to sleep, little Mitzrayim. And hid him in the sand. And he went out the second day and saw 2 Hebrew men fighting. And he said to the one who did the wrong, "Why do you strike your neighbor? Why are you hitting him?" And he said, "Who made you head and judge over us? Do you intend to kill me as you killed the Mitzrayim?" Oh no, the secret's out, right? So this guy's like, "Who are you to talk to me about striking people? You just killed a guy yesterday." So now Moshe's like, oh boy, everybody knows. Okay. And Moshe feared and said, "Truly the matter is known." And Pharaoh heard of this matter, and he sought to kill Moshe. But Moshe fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well, water. And the priest of Midian had 7 daughters. And they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. But the shepherds came and drove them away. Then Moshe stood up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. And they came to Reuel, their father, and he said, "How is it that you have come so soon today?" His daughters. And they said, "A Mitzrayim rescued us from the hand of the shepherds. And he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock." And he said to his daughters, "And where the heck is he? Why did you leave the man? Call him in and let's eat some bread, yo." And Moshe agreed to hang out and eat some bread. And, well, it says that Moshe agreed to dwell with the man, and he gave Zipporah, his daughter, to Moshe. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom, for he said, "I have become a sojourner in a foreign land." Okay, so now he's on the run, he's on the lam. He has left, his adopted home of Egypt. I mean, he was born there, but he was not born into Pharaoh's house, yet he somehow ended up there. Sound familiar? Are you picking up on this? Okay, cool. Especially, we just came from the story of Joseph, right? Archetypes, cycles, blueprints. Okay. I have become a sojourner in a foreign land. And it came to be after these many days that the sovereign of Mitzrayim died. Pharaoh is dead. And the children of Israel groaned because of their slavery, and they cried out. And their cry came up to Elohim because of the slavery. And Elohim heard their groaning, and Elohim remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And Elohim looked on the children of Israel, and Elohim knew. Says my book. We're going to stop there today. I got a comment from a guy recently on a YouTube video, and I really believe that it was not to be antagonistic, but it was, so brother, I'm not offended. I'll put it that way. Nor would I have any reason to be, so just so we're clear. But it was on last week's video about the Elohim, and it was a link to a guy, sounded South African-ish, discussing the Elohim. Now, in this, I think it was an 8.5 minute or 9 minute video. I only watched about 4 minutes of it. Because in the 4 minutes that I'd heard so far, he did not once mention this book. Although he many, many, many times said the word Elohim. And had pictures of bluish purple fractals coming up on the screen and talking about the light realm and the realm of the Creator and the ascended masters and how the messengers of God, aka angels, how they carry messages back and forth from the Elohim, and that we are the Elohim, and that based upon the ascended masters, blah, 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 blah. And so I just want to clarify where I stand on that. And why is this important? Because we're in Exodus. We are going to meet Elohim. And I would say face to face, but Elohim tells Moshe, no man can look upon my face and live. So if you're Elohim and I'm Elohim, why aren't you dead yet? Okay, next. We're going to meet the Father in a big way in Exodus. And this book, over and over and over again, archetypes, cycles, blueprints, is the story of the Father meeting us where we're at, over and over again. Melchizedek comes off the mountain to bless Abraham. Isaac sets up an altar, and he meets him there. He, capital H, he meets him there. Jacob wrestles with Yeshua, gets touched in the socket, and walks with a limp for the rest of his life. Joseph is shepherded into position where he needs him in the land so that he can preserve a remnant of Israel who was moved from Canaan to Goshen so that they might survive for 400 years. And now Moshe is raised up, shepherded by the hand of the Most High, to move these people back, now that the famine in the land is gone, from Goshen back to the promised land, Canaan. Okay. And in the process of this, right, as we're met over and over and over and over and over again, we get to meet Elohim. Today in our daily, but also here in the book, we get to meet Elohim. And so who is Elohim? Moshe asks him, what shall I tell the children of Israel? Which is literally the children of Israel, okay? If you've ever said, I'm one of God's children, Israel was Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Jacob inherited the promises of Abraham and Isaac, and the Father said, I will build nations out of you. The 12 tribes were his sons. His name, Jacob, was renamed Israel, literally the children of Israel. What should I tell the children of Israel your name is? And he says, I am that I am! Exclamation point. The great I am. When Yeshua is confronted in the Garden of Gethsemane by 1,000 men, and they say, yeah, we're here to arrest Yeshua of Nazareth, he stands up and says, I am he. Boom. And everybody gets knocked ass over tea kettle into the ground. The great I am. All of this New Age spirituality, ascended masters bullcrap, I disagree with wholeheartedly for two reasons. Number one, as we saw earlier, the Hebrews and their creator are very logical people. The name of the book in each book of this Bible is literally the first few words of the book. It's like me saying, did you read the book about the whale? Instead of saying, did you read Moby Dick? Right? Or whatever. Very literal. So when the Father says, no man can look upon my face and live, I believe him. When he says, I am that I am, I believe him. Now, we are fearfully and wonderfully created in the image of the Most High, and we have that spark in us. But nobody comes to the Father but through Yeshua, right? Not in the ascended masters, not light wave fractals, not messenger angels who carry messages back and forth and blah, 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 blah. I would also encourage you to actually do biblical research on angels. Yeah, there's a few of them that carry messages. Most of them carry swords. They have a very specific job to do. Angel worship and putting angels on a pedestal, I would say, is borderline pagan. Because just as pagans worship creation, not the creator, angels exist to serve the Most High. They are messengers of Yahweh. That is literally the translation. An angel is a messenger of Yahweh. That means if you pick up this book and you go stand on the corner or go into a nursing home or a rehabilitation center or hell, a Sunday church and just start preaching, and you are bringing the message of the Most High, you, speaking literally in Hebrew, are an angel. So what is Elohim? I will tell you what he's not. He's not you. He's not me. Nor am I him. Nor are you him. He is that he is. He is not fractals of light. He is not ascended masters. He's not New Age spirituality. It's not universal acceptance. It's not Unitarianism. It's none of that. It is the great I am. In the beginning. Oh, Bereshit, Genesis, literally means in the beginning. In the beginning, God, Yahweh, Hashem, Adonai, El Shaddai, the great I am, in the beginning. And so forth and so on forevermore until he comes back again, is the story of this book. That's Elohim. Not all that other spiritual bullcrap that sounds nice but has zero biblical foundation. I struggle with this with my mom, who is coming to the way, praise the Most High, but has years of Baptist intermixed and intermingled with paganism, like straight up paganism. For example, again, the angel thing. My mom and my aunt love angels and the idea of angels. You worship the Creator, not the byproducts of his creation. Angels carry messages, again, from the Father to who? To us. Okay, they do his work. And there's a whole school of thought with angels that they are subject to us. Why would you worship that? You worship Hashem, Adonai, El Shaddai, Yahweh, Jehovah, the great I am. The one that doesn't even, you can't put words to it. There is no word that's adequate. The creator of the universe. That's who you worship. Everything else. The first commandment. You will have no gods other than God. And that is New Age spirituality, ascended masters, angels, money, greed, power, lust, materialism, fornication rather. You will have none of that, because our God is a deeply logical and practical God. And when he says, I am that I am, the end. So, brother, I don't mean to rant at you or anybody else, but that is Elohim from where I'm standing. So, to all my Shalomi homies, my Hebrews, all the people that I get to talk to pray over, to pray with, to fast with, you guys are the best. And I pray blessings on your day. I pray that His face shines upon you, that you experience His peace, His shalom this day. Shalom, y'all.